I want to tell you about the person who almost gave up. Not a character from a movie, not a famous name you can Google. I want to talk about the version of you that showed up on your worst day. The one that sat in the dark, in the quiet, completely alone, and genuinely did not know how they were going to get through what was in front of them. That person made a decision you've probably never given them credit for. They decided to stay. They decided to try one more time. They decided that as long as there was a next day, there was a reason to show up for it. That decision, the one nobody saw, the one nobody clapped for, is the reason you're watching this right now. This video is for that person, and for the version of you that might be facing the same choice today. Here is what nobody tells you about the hardest seasons of life. They don't announce themselves. There's no warning that this is the year things fall apart. No one sends you a letter in advance saying, "Prepare yourself. Something important is about to break. And it's going to ask more of you than you think you have." It just happens. The loss arrives. The relationship ends. The job disappears. The health scare comes. The dream doesn't work out the way you planned. And you're left standing in the middle of your own life, wondering how it got to this point. And what makes it harder, what no one talks about, is the noise. Not the noise outside, the noise inside. The voice that says you should have seen this coming. The voice that compares where you are to where everyone else seems to be. The voice that says, maybe this is just who you are now. Maybe this is as far as you go. That voice is the real enemy, not the circumstance, not the setback, not the person who hurt you or the plan that failed. The voice that turns a hard season into a verdict. That's what actually stops people. Because circumstances can change. Plans can be remade. People can heal and pivot and start over. But the person who believes the voice, they stop before the turnaround comes. And here's what I know from every story of resilience I've ever encountered. The turnaround almost always comes right after the hardest moment. Not before. After. The question is never whether things can change. The question is whether you'll still be standing when they do. Let me tell you what happens when someone decides not to give up. Not dramatically. Not with a montage and a triumphant moment. In real life, the decision to keep going is usually quiet. It happens in a room no one else is in. It sounds like, okay, one more day. It feels like exhaustion choosing to put its shoes on anyway. And then the next day comes. And they do it again. And the day after that. And somewhere in the repetition of choosing to show up, even when nothing is working, even when the results aren't visible, even when every logical reason to continue seems to have run out, something shifts. Not all at once. Slowly. The way the sky doesn't suddenly become bright. It just gradually becomes less dark. Your capacity for hard things grows every time you do a hard thing. This isn't inspiration. This is how human beings are built. The muscle of resilience does not develop in comfort. It develops in exactly the moments you're trying to escape. Every time you chose to stay when you wanted to leave. Every time you showed up when everything in you said, stop. Every time you said, I don't know how this ends, but I'm not ending it today. You were building something. A version of yourself that is stronger than the circumstance. And here's the thing about that version. You can't access it any other way. You can't read your way to it. You can't watch your way to it. You can only live your way to it. One hard, unglamorous, no audience day at a time. I want to say something directly to the person watching this who is in their hardest season right now. I don't know what you're carrying. I don't know what the last year has asked of you. I don't know how many times you've already tried and felt like it wasn't working. But I know this. The fact that you're still here means you haven't given up yet, even if it feels like you have, even if you're barely holding on. Barely holding on still counts. And I want to tell you about something called post-traumatic growth, a real psychological phenomenon that researchers have documented in thousands of people who went through devastating loss, illness, failure, and grief. What they found is this: a significant number of people who go through severe hardship don't just recover. They grow. They become more themselves, more compassionate, more clear on what matters, more capable than they were before. Not because suffering is good, it isn't, but because something in the human spirit responds to pressure by becoming more, not less. You are not the exception to this. You are the rule. Every hardship you have survived has been building a version of you that is more resilient, more perceptive, more real than the version that existed before it. The things that broke you also built you, not in spite of each other, because of each other. That person who almost gave up, they didn't. And because they didn't, they became the person standing here now, with every scar as evidence of a battle they won, and every scar as armor for the ones still to come. You have already proven that you can handle hard things, not because life has been easy, because it hasn't been, and you're still here. That is not nothing. That is the whole thing. Let me say it again, because I need you to actually hear it. You are still here. And that changes everything about what's possible next. So here's what I want you to take from this. The next time the voice tells you that you're not going to make it, I want you to remember that you've heard that voice before, and every single time you've heard it, you've proven it wrong. That's not coincidence. That's character. That's the kind of person you actually are, underneath all the noise. You don't need everything to be figured out to keep going. You don't need the path to be clear. You don't need the result to be guaranteed. You need one decision, the same one that got you through every hard thing before this one. One more day, one more try, one more step in a direction that still matters to you, even when you're not sure it's working yet. Because here's the truth about people who eventually get where they're going. They didn't have a map. They had a direction and a willingness to keep moving, and a refusal, quiet, stubborn, unglamorous, to stop. That's it. That's the whole secret. And you already know how to do it. You've been doing it all along. If this found you today, if something in this video landed somewhere real, I want you to do one thing. Not subscribe, not like the video. One real thing. Write down the name of one version of yourself that almost gave up but didn't. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It might have been last week. It might have been last year. It might have been yesterday. Write their name, or just write me. And underneath it, write still here. Because you are. And that matters more than you know. If you want more of this, real, honest conversations about getting through the things that are hardest to talk about, subscribe to Words That Hit. We post something like this every single week. And if this helped you, share it with someone who might need it today. You might not know who that person is, but they'll know when they find it.